morning. Welcome to the Front Burners on Sook News TV. I am Blessing Eichie. Today promises to be a great day because there are important issues for discuss. Dr. Idahosa Osamhanze and Oyinpreye Krumale are with me in the studio today to help shape a narrative for a better society, a narrative that will help development. Good morning, Dr. Idahosa.
Good morning, Blessing. A beautiful Thursday. Good morning, Krumale. Good Nigerians out there. It's another day to make progress. Keep working at it. We will get there soon.
Good morning, Pree.
Good morning to you, Blessing. Good morning to you, Doctor. It's great to be on the front burners again, where we burn issues that are of relevance to the economy and business and development of our nation.
Now let's talk about some of the stories in the headlines. So, Customs begins implementation of presidential order to boost local production of healthcare products in Nigeria. So they have begun enforcing the presidential directive that is aimed at promoting the local manufacturing of medical and pharmaceutical products. This initiative is part of the federal government's broader strategy to reduce dependency on imported healthcare goods, enhance domestic production, and ensure sustainable access to essential medicines. The announcement was contained in a statement signed by Abdullahi Miwada, who is the Assistant Controller of Customs and National Public Relations Officer on behalf of the Controller General of Customs. It's good news to my ears. I don't know how it sounds for you, because if you notice that since the exit of some pharmaceutical companies from Nigeria, drugs, medicines have been very expensive. Even before that time, before they exited, it's been very expensive to buy some medications, maybe like antibiotics or medications needed for very serious ailments. So this might just be a kind of relief for pharmaceutical marketers or producers to be able to fill that gap. So maybe we might begin to get some of the medicines and pharmaceutical products cheaper than it is currently. Doc, what do you think?
Well, I think it's good that we are thinking, even looking inward. The Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria had been there for a while and just dispensing medication that we are ordering from other countries and redistributing here. And I think that's a lot of money that we actually ship abroad. And the need to encourage local producers of medications, I think it's long overdue for us. Like somebody said, and I think it was the Deputy High Commission to India, when we had a certain program at the Natural Medicine Development Agency, and it says the potential of Nigeria actually depending on herbal solution could be worth over $5 billion annually. And that's a huge sum that can be made from just developing the pharmaceutical sector locally. And I think that is quite very, very important. And another thing is just the fact that, if we live well, eat well, we will not even have disease in the first place. And I think that's one issue that is on the debate right now. Kennedy Jr. is taking on the health challenge in America, that we don't need to spend money buying medication. We just need to teach people how to live well. And once people live well, of course, there'll be a reduction even in terms of buying medication. Most of the diseases that you see around us are lifestyle issues. And adjusting those lifestyle can actually save government a lot of money also. And that's just alternative side to it. You know, I remember some years ago, and the UAE government discovered that almost everybody was becoming obese, and what they had to do was to go take the artery to elementary classes so that the Emiratis know how to eat. And when you see them now, they look healthy. So it's just an approach to life that is also very important, that we don't necessarily have to be overly dependent on medication, but live a good lifestyle, eat well, rest well, sleep well, as they say, and do a lot of exercise, and then, of course, you stay healthy. But outside of that, I think manufacturing, like President Buhari will say, produce what you eat and eat what you produce, will save us a lot and help us to prepare for the rainy day.
Doc, you've highlighted critical issues. I don't know if I should begin to pick them one after the other, but it seemed like a lot of dust might be raised if I choose to do that. We're talking about people eating right so they don't even fall ill.
Yeah.
The question that comes to mind is that can people really afford to eat right these days?
Yes, in short, the truth of the matter is that they say if you want to live healthy, you eat like a poor person.
That's what I'm asking, because it seemed like that's eating like the poor person.
Yes.
It's a narrative.
Because you don't need meat.
It's a narrative
You don't
of
need
the past.
oil.
It's a narrative of the past.
All you just need
You need
is,
vegetables, right?
Just leaves from the backyard.
They're not at the backyard anymore, Doc. They're very expensive. That's why I say
No,
if we get
but
there,
see,
we might just be raising up lots of
hydroponic
dust.
technology is everywhere, and the wife of the president actually is driving the wife of state governors to have gardens around them, as to show to people that look, we can actually plant some of all these things inside bacco sack, inside plastic plates around our houses, and all
If you have the space.
and all we just need
Add
to do,
that to that. If you live in Lagos, you have the space.
All we need to do is just to water it. Just around the back of your window is enough.
Back of your window. What if that back of your window leads to somebody else's house? You know, we're constrained by a lot of factors here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we'll get to that eating right part. It's very critical, and how we can work around it. You talked about not necessarily needing land space, but you can use
small agriculture here and there.
You can put the sand in bag and in plants. You could use plastic containers. There are other methods that one can use.
Blessing, I remember growing up, you see, there are a lot of things that used to happen those days. You see, the fowl that we are going to use for Christmas, we start to rear them.
You rear them.
And they eat
within the
naturally.
compound, right?
There are no genetically grown fowls. They are natural fowls. Even the goats,
I like how you make the distinction. There's fowl, there's chicken. What you ate was fowl. What we have these days is chicken.
So I think we just need to go back to the basis and live close to nature, and then we really become better off. I think that for me is what it is.
Living close to nature is even expensive these days, except for those who were fortunate enough to still be in the rural area. But exemption, 2 years tax exemption for pharmaceutical imports to help the local manufacturing pharmaceutical industries. Do you even think that our pharmaceutical industries in Nigeria are even producing enough when it comes to medications that Nigerians need? It seems like the concentration is on anti-malaria, analgesics, and some other not too maybe complex to produce, but some medications that will be needed to treat very, very serious illnesses, maybe cancer, maybe diabetes, or some other kinds of ailments. Do you think we're heavily into such production locally?
Okay, first of all, I want to cast our minds back, saying if we are in depth into producing those sort of medication, I will have to speak to
just a bit. Just a bit. I asked that to assess what would be the impact of this. Now, if we're doing, maybe, permit me to call it basic medication, and this tax exemption is implemented, does it look like it will provide much relief regarding the cost of medicines in Nigeria?
Given the time frame, it should have great relief and impact the pharmaceutical industry. Now, first of all, I want to cast our minds back to during the time the Nigerian Ports Authority was increasing their fare and they were putting about 15% increase. We talked about it on this table. We also spoke about the Nigerian Customs Service that brought in about some form of increase to their tariff to import to those who are importing and freight forwarders into this country. And we talked about the issues here. It was on the front burners. We burnt it here. And that specific time, I was referring to, like, okay, can the Nigerian government, including the NPA and the Nigerian Customs Service, can we just be very, very selective and intentional on the things that we tariff that come into the country? If there are goods and products for which we have a substitute here in the country, of course, we can impose tariff on it so that we can help the local industries and the local manufacturing hubs to pick up and to grow, to have a form of level playing field. Because most of the time when we have those who come in from abroad bringing their money into the country, yes, we like that. But because our local industries do not have the financial chest, they may be suppressed. And because the government needs to help them, I was advising that the government would give such a level of level playing ground and smooth ground for the local producers to ride on. When we spoke about that issue, I gave some form of advice. Now, look, why can't the government, through the NPA, the Nigeria Customs Service, limit these tariffs to these goods where we have import substitution? What about, can we just let go goods that have to do with raw materials and equipments that will be used for manufacturing? And I'm glad probably the government listened to the voice of reason coming from the front burners. This is a laudable initiative from the current administration, given the fact that the current administration had set in place even before now to increase the local manufacturing of pharmaceutical products by 70%. Because there's this observation that about Nigeria all imports lots, even about more than 90%, 95% of pharmaceutical products are imported into this country. And the local pharmaceutical companies, have been run aground. And because the government now has this aspiration to make sure that the country, attains 70%, is bringing up this law for them to be exempted from taxes as long as raw materials and equipment are concerned. And these raw materials and equipment that will be brought into the country, they are used to produce essential pharmaceutical goods, which will be at the reach of the man at the average level of society. So that's a good thing. And given the fact that Nigeria pharmaceutical industry is evaluated as worth $1.84 billion, that's an industry where if the local manufacturer, the local pharmaceutical companies are completely exempted from that, just the way Nigeria is experiencing in the maritime and blue economy sector. If our local pharmaceutical industry, are beaten out of that raise of that $1.84 billion, then we are losing out completely, and it's going to dwindle. A lot of things are going to suffer. Not just the industry itself, but the high cost of pharmaceutical product, of medicine, for the average man to consume there, it's going to go off the roof. And I think the government taking this step is the right step in the right direction.
All right. Statistics has it that Nigeria loses about 1 trillion naira annually to imports of pharmaceutical inputs, and 70% of the medicines consumed in Nigeria are actually imported. Now, this also includes the active ingredients, which are inputs for the local manufacturers, as well as the caplets and every other thing that they package the medicines in. But one question would be, while this directive would actually help the indigenous pharmaceutical companies, which are not even very many, we just have a few of them, which some players being like the major players that have been there over the years. I don't want to mention their names. So they've been here over the years and they've been strong. But you find that, like I said earlier, if we look at the type of medicines that they are into, the type of medicines that they manufacture, yes, it's a wide array of medications that they manufacture, but there are some areas that they've not tapped into. Maybe the inputs for those producing those type of medicines are very, very expensive because of the nature of the illness that they deal with. So there is the aspect of natural medicine, which I think we have not tapped into as a country. Yes, some may say, is it standardized? The natural medicine, who would standardize it to say, this is the dosage, this is what it treats, and this is how it should be administered? While we're working to help pharmaceutical industries to manufacture orthodox medicine, we should also be looking at encouraging, developing our natural medicine industry. India, China have done a whole lot with natural medicine, that even now they're packaged like orthodox medicines, and Nigerians patronize them a whole lot. There are some that have this network marketing chain where they introduce you to it, and they tell you they are not drugs per se, they're not medication per se, they're supplements because of how natural they are. Without you being sick, you can take some of them to ensure that you're not sick. That's on one hand. But some of the ingredients for this natural medicine that now have been processed and imported back to Nigeria are gotten from our forest, gotten from Nigeria. Those of us who have them, Nigerians, Africans that have them, what are we doing with them? It is time we begin to look into that. In universities now, you are having departments that are dedicated to the study of natural medicine and even the production of this medicine. And even in Nigeria, we have the ministry that in charge of natural medicine. And they're cited here, their headquarters are cited here in Lagos. They're also doing their own production. So how about having this synergy with them? So that while we're encouraging manufacturers of pharmaceutical products, on the other hand, we are taking advantage of what is cheap to us. We don't need to import the active ingredient for natural medicine. It's natural medicine. So it will save us a whole lot, because I'm thinking that, yes, this is a good initiative, but I don't think that the impact will be so much, because if we're importing 70% of the medicines, of the medications that we consume in Nigeria, it then means that the contribution of our local manufacturing industries to the medicines market is small. And we will still need to import a whole lot. Doc?
Yeah, I think the challenge I have with those regulations, especially when they are made, and you're going to be looking at what are the things that are actually included. Now, if it's a concentrate that we're subsidizing, and I don't think that is good for Nigeria, because some of these things are taken from our place here, processed abroad, and brought back as concentrate to us. And I think we, as a people, must be deliberate about how we develop, and I think that's where the missing link is for us as a people. Pharmacy is not new to Africa. It's not. The only thing that is new is the fact that we have never taken the pain to actually look at what we have. I was sharing with somebody recently, and I said I grew up to see that people who are tetanus come to my father's house, and they are treated, and they get well. In short, the last time I traveled home, one man came to me and said, "Your father saved my life," and was telling me the story on how he was almost dead, and they brought him to the house, and he was looked after. In 2 days, he was up and running. Now, those active ingredients, like Blessing mentioned, they are out there in our nature. What we have not been able to do is that we have farm for tomatoes, we have farm for yam, we have farm for cassava. But we didn't deliberately started to make farm
for herbs.
For herbs. Yeah. This is a problem. We know the leaves that are meant for some of these things, so we are not preserving them. And because of civilization, we have lost a number of these leaves. And I think this is what the Agency for Natural Medicine is trying to do, to see how we can recreate those farms again, and so that people can have access to this thing. Now, government need to even fund those agencies of government. They need more money, because it's critical. Now, when you look at what we are losing to big farms abroad, what we're losing to healthcare tourism or medical tourism, it will be infinitesimal to what is required for this agency to actually up its game by synergizing with pharmacologists, even traditional herb owners, so that we have a kind of this town and gown synergy where those who say they have traditional cure that can be demonstrated, those herbs are studied and their inactive elements are extracted and they are used to produce very healthy medication that people will live by. I have seen professor of medicine who survived COVID with Agbo. Oh yes, I had those testimonies of people who, during the COVID, they were expert medical practitioners. But when that push came to shove, they resorted to the natural herbs. So, which means that they're actually efficacious. Yes, there are some that people are doing for commercial, but we have to look out for things that are genuine to us, so that we are not actually, because what it means is that, yes, they are bringing it, those people are bringing it, they are not bringing it for free, they are selling it. So when we waive duties for them, so that it can be cheap, we lose at both ends. They take our money abroad, and we get nothing from it as a country. So this is what really all these, what do we call it, waivers here and there for things that we can produce locally. Okay. And I don't believe in waivers at all. And I think that problems should drive us to creativity and innovation. So when we have a challenge, rather than looking for easy way out, we should be working at the comprehensive, final, and total solution to that kind of a problem. So you will say, oh, machinery, they say steel, they are importing steel. We are giving them waivers. Yet we have coal in abundance in this place. We are building a Jakarta steel. We can't complete it. And then we are giving people elsewhere. They bring this thing to us. They collect our money, take it back as foreign exchange, leaving our country, and the country gain nothing out of it. And I think that kind of a way of living is not good for Africa. It's not good for Nigeria. We must begin to be creative and see when we have a problem and see what are the local alternatives to that foreign problem. And then focus energy in developing that sector so that we don't even need to rely on them. But when we become very effective and it has proven, they can come to buy from us and then we can earn money from it.
Okay, so first of all, whilst I believe and I know for certain that there are abundant pharmaceutical raw materials and that we have in this country that we can explore and use for local production to the extent that we can become very, very competitive, even with India, that is very, very well known in the pharmaceutical industry. I don't think we have everything. And for those pharmaceutical companies, manufacturers that are in Nigeria, who see it fit to import some of these raw materials that they can't find in Nigeria, to import it from the climes where they can find it for the purpose of manufacturing and producing some of these pharmaceutical consumptions that we need in this country, which are basically essentials. The government is trying to help them. And I think that's the right thing for the government to do. If it's going to help them to give them tax waivers for value-added tax, if it's going to give them tax waivers for the equipment, for import duty, yes, and all of that, I think that's good because in a way we are building their capacity and they are going to expand. They will see the need to even employ more hands and employ more professionals, engage more Nigerians for the purpose of that manufacturing, because that's going to save a lot of overhead costs from their financial books. And let's go back to this aspect of when we start talking about local substances that we have. I used to have a friend in the university. He was studying biochemistry. And every time this guy is just on leaves in the university, he'll go around, pluck leaves. These are things we just see random around growing. and the cleaners in the university. Sometimes the university will they will cut the grasses, the ones you know as grass, the ones that you do not, they will cut it. No, me, I'm a student of public administration, so I'll just look, well, these are wheat, I just call them wheat. But they will cut, this guy will just walk, bring out this leaf, he say, I'm working in a current assignment. So your lecturer, he said, no, this one is not my lecturer. I just want to, I'll be in the lab. You know, we'll put on his white. Say, you bring out leaves. You say, the nutrients in these leaves. I'm coming back. If we say, I'll be coming back to do my master's. I'll come and do my PhD. I want to research into this. It's just talking about leaves and we found randomly around the university. Now, that's a student. Let alone those who have graduated, who are now active participants in the industry to the extent that they are even in the business, they've scaled up, and what they could do with these leaves. You are very correct when you say, Doc was very correct when you say we do not have farms for this. Now, the thing is, when we know people, maybe they did not pass through the 4 walls of the university, but they can just walk into the forest and say, that leaf. Amongst the thousands of leaves they can say, that leaves, that one. This tree, that tree that you can see there, the back of that tree will be good for X, Y, Z. Please, let's bring them into the university setting and use them as good resource to consult with these, with the ones who are teaching, who are already in the medical field, as let me call it, for lack of a better word, the white man's medicine. Orthodox medicine. So let us be an effective, healthy collaboration among these parties so that we can have abundance. Probably sometimes we don't even need to depend on some of the raw materials we go fishing for abroad because we feel we have them locally here and we can make use of them. And it is, the government should go beyond just giving these tax exemptions to pharmaceutical industry or pharmaceutical companies here in Nigeria, but also liaise with the university authorities, most especially with the research and development authority agencies in the universities, so that we can take it to these places where we can get these raw materials and make the best use of them.
All right, so the tax exemption is also on diagnostic kits, because when we're talking about price of healthcare, of medicines increasing, the price for diagnosis is also increased. So before you would go into a laboratory, you want to be tested whether you have malaria, typhoid, or you want to know what's your PCV level. At least that's like the most common test that a lot of Nigerians do. So when you're feverish, you want to know why you're feverish, to just get into the lab. So it used to be very cheap to do that. But recently, if you get into the lab, when you're told how much to run test, you understand that it's not as cheap. And sometimes you query it like, why is it very expensive for me to just run a test? And they tell you that we have kits for these things. We have materials that we use for diagnosis, and a lot of these things are imported. Yes. So when you check the exchange rate between the dollar and the naira, you understand where they're coming from if you're importing all of these things. So I also see this benefiting the laboratories as well, because if there's tax waiver for their inputs, their diagnostic kits, it means also that we hope, because sometimes government will do its own part, and then the beneficiaries of the direct beneficiaries of what government is doing, the policy, they don't want other Nigerians to benefit. So we're hoping that we should see a reduction in the price of medical diagnosis, because there is a waiver for diagnostic kits. So
yeah, but Blessing, and I just wanted to respond to the thing that Priya said, that there are some things we cannot find here. I don't think so, really. I think it's mental laziness to always want to take things that's already made. Take, for example, Belgium, they don't even have bush.
Belgium.
Yes, they are selling chemicals to us.
Yes, and that's what many of the orthodox medicines are made of.
Yeah, so they're selling, because these are things that are processed and are developed into concentrates that they are shipping to us, and they are taken from the bush. if you check it right now, a lot of people will tell you, see, Chinese, Indians, they are all in our bush and forest.
But we, the owners of the bush, are not in the bush.
But because we don't even know what is in the bush in the first place. That's the problem.
That's an irony.
So it's because somehow we have been wired in such a way to believe that what is with us is not good. It's attributed to deities.
So
And therefore,
we term it fetish.
Yes, modern religion says to us, oh, this is fetish, you don't use it. You just go to the chemist and buy the pill and take. This is a problem. And I think it is this mind shift that we need first and foremost to understand that there are some certain things that we have in our environment that even before we had those encounters with the white people, we had things that were working for us. And our people have ways of testing things. How do we have to go back to this natural way of doing our own thing is what for me is critical. Because all the things that we are importing, but sometimes I sit down in my corner and I'm asking myself, these people were running to the West. Did they bring it from heaven? That we say, oh, we can't find it around us. They created it. So I think that once you live in a comfort zone that has somebody who supplies you everything you need, you tend to want to believe that until you continue to rely on this person, then you will not get anything. So I feel that we can actually make do with what nature has given to us. And as a matter of fact, a professor of pharmacology told me that, look, every disease that is found in any environment, the cure of that disease is also figured by nature in that environment.
That's a great one.
And that's really very profound. And so the things that people think that they are not curable, they are curable. About 4 or 5 years ago, I was in Ewu, and I was talking and greeting one man, and they said to me, you are looking very well. I said, okay. And he said, the man had a stroke. And I said, really? Stroke? How? He doesn't look it. Oh, they said, you needed to see him. That from here to there was completely paralyzed. But he was treated locally in that place. And the man is whole and functioning again.
With local herbs.
Yes. Now, we must go to research these localities. And I think this idea of wearing that your white gown, need to stop, that we need to be able
lab coats.
It's a lab coat, so he is going out to carry tests.
It's not really
He was
about,
going out to carry his
It's not really
test.
about the lab coat. While you were talking, what caught my attention was the fact that that friend of yours at that time was carrying out research. So I want to ask, do you know what happened to him afterwards, after you left school, if he continued his research, if his research was adopted by any institution?
No, I didn't. He graduated before me. I graduated about 2-3 years before I actually left school. So, and we lost contact,
So
and
see,
that was it.
That's where we're missing it. There's a disconnect. We've often talked about having a connection between the town and the gown. So if that young man was carrying out research at that time, he must have found certain information.
Yes.
He must have known certain things about leaves. He was telling you the nutrients contained in some leaves, in some plants, in some herbs. That perhaps is not public knowledge. If he had made that knowledge available to those in the manufacturing industry, in pharmaceutical industries, with those who were even in food processing, those who were producing beverages, food beverages, imagine what that would have done by now. So we neglect these things. We don't take them as very serious. So I think there's a lot that we are still missing out here. And that's why I say that we're being reactive. We're not being proactive. This tax exemption is a reactive measure.
Because we're not
actually
issues,
curb the effect of...
But the exemptions are for raw materials.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's a reactive measure to curb the effect of pharmaceutical inflation, because the prices of drugs have increased by at least 68%. And some pharmaceutical industries that were cited here have exited Nigeria due to fuel scarcity. Now, if we had been proactive by doing research, harnessing the results of the research and ensuring that there's a synergy between those who are doing the research and those the research would benefit, by now, we would not even be in this situation. That's what I mean by we're reactive rather than being proactive.
Okay, so one thing I would like to say is that when COVID-19 emerged and we all started consuming information about COVID and all of that, and we started reading a few information about this drug, this cure injection,
the
what's it
vaccine.
called? The vaccine. And we're getting information on how long it takes to manufacture a vaccine. And then we're told it could go as far as 10, 15 years, if not more, to get vaccine.
Let me warn you before you go ahead that you are trying to rile up.
So I was wondering, okay, if that's the case, how did we come up with this vaccine for COVID-19? Just the snap of a finger. So I just, and that is why when doctor starts talking about COVID and start expressing his dissension about it and is mentioning some things, that will make me keep quiet because because of that information I just mentioned. Okay, if it's going to take X, Y, Z time of years, how did we just come up with?
But the thing is, because in 2017, and this is what is not being told, at the World Economic Forum, a group of men were selected to go and be fashioning out a vaccine for a disease that was not yet known, that was called COVID.
That's not COVID.
It's COVID. It was named COVID. Now, 19 was not on it. You can go that and check it out. So, at the World Economic Forum, people have been mandated to say, go and produce vaccine.
That's 2017. 2017.
Yes. So, and the COVID came at the tail end of 2019. So, 2 years, research was ongoing for those vaccines. And that was why you find that the then president of the United States of America called it the China virus. And that was why they were so particular about Fauci, that was funding a research in Wuhan, where, of course, it was believed that this virus came from. All this conversation, the world is not having it. But I don't even want to go into those conversations as we speak. But the real issue is the fact that we have local solutions. Your friend don't need to go and be plucking leaf. He just need to liaise with one mama there at Ife who has a cure to an ailment. And say, Mama, look, we can do business. Tell me what you are doing. We will analyze it so that we can determine what dosage will be good for the body and its organ based on our knowledge of science. And then we package it into a solution.
Yes. So where I was going is this. So when they manufactured that, during COVID, and for how long it lasted, the information now came out that, giving analysis to the level and the speed with which we came out with the COVID vaccine, the world has actually solved to an extent any other pandemic that may come up after now. That is as if we are 50 or 70% ready to get a vaccine in sight to take care of it. Now, that's an information that came out.
Because that's why you take dose 1, you take booster 1,
booster 1, then
booster 2,
and 3.
And some people took booster 4.
Yes.
Let me tell you something.
No. I'm bringing out information that this is medical institutions.
COVID-19 pandemic.
So where I'm heading to. Finally, where I'm heading to is this. One of the reasons why even NAFDAC itself and some local pharmaceutical regulatory institutions were not very, very, aggressively chasing after the local herb and all of that was because there was a report that came out sometimes that, we know that these herbs are good. However, the people who are peddling and selling it or who give prescriptions, they, according to what Doc said, they do not have the knowledge of the right dosage that should go. And some of them could have some effects that could be damaging to the lungs, that could be damaging to some organs of the body.
If that is the case, what happens to having those with the right knowledge of this natural medicines, these herbs? Why not have them look at their discoveries.
That's why it can be subjected to laboratory tests,
No,
experiments, and studies.
I think what we're missing this is we want to standardize herbal medicine using orthodox standards. That alone would not work. It will make it fail because it's like you have made a thing. They are two different things. You can't mix them. So orthodox medicines, where you have active ingredients and all the components of it, some are chemical, some are organic. You have them mixed. And now you have herbs that is purely organic. Aside the constituents of these two types of medication, you can't use orthodox standards to base herbal medicines. So I think it would be proper if we have those who have studied natural medicine to do their own standardization. They can study, they can have their own lab to study the nutrients in the leaf, what's a type of vitamins the herbs have, what kind of curative properties any type of herb have, and then they can now base it to say, if you take it this number of times a day, this is the dosage, it works. Now it's not as if it's something that can't be done. We've been interacting a lot with the agency in charge of natural medicine. And from our interaction with them, we can say that they have done well producing medication from herbs that have now been packaged as if it's orthodox medicine, but it's not. So there is dosage, you know how to take it. And they're not alone in this. The University of Benin has a department that is dedicated to natural medicine. They have natural herbs there. When you go there, they don't treat you using orthodox medicine. So they have dosage. They know how, they tell you, they prescribe to you how it can be taken. But I think that because for too long, we've relied so much on orthodox medicine, not to say that orthodox medicine is bad, but you can have more than one solution to a problem. So if we have the orthodox solution, we can also have the natural solution to treat illnesses. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And this standardization can be done just the same way you have quacks or those with limited knowledge in natural medicine. That's the same way you have in the building industry, in the construction industry, those who didn't go to school to study engineering. They just learned that when you mix this quantity of cement, mix this and that, you can mold block, you can build house. And then there is the engineer that has gone to school and he knows the measurements, he knows how to construct, how to build. There is the builder that is certified. That's how you have it. So you have the natural medicine practitioner who is certified, who was studied, who knows what he's doing, who can work with these people and get the knowledge that they have, combined with his own, and then you can make headway with it.
Can I give you one very small fact about this? You see, we overrate what we call orthodox most of the time. Sorry to say.
Anthony Fauci
you see,
listening to you.
Fauci's listening to you.
The point is this. Every producer has a patent. And what that patent signifies, it's only God in heaven that knows. Because you're just talking about quacks in natural medicine practice. They become quack because they are not patented to use the formula. You just see like Coke or any other product has a formula for preparation. There's no amount of PhD you will study in chemistry or microbiology lab that can replicate that formula. No amount. The active ingredients are written at the back. But you can study it, you can go to do PhD in Harvard, anywhere. You can't reproduce it. Because somebody owns the patent. And what that patent means is so much. But growing up as a child in my own village, I also saw this happen. That even the common use of leaf, that you know this leaf, yes, you see this is leaf, you pluck it. You use it, you can't find effect until the person who owns the patent.
Oh, you mean the local...
Yes.
The local unseen...
This is the formula.
The local unseen patent.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this is it. I remember those days. They say in the village, they say, "Oh, I have given you this thing to use. You just put this hand and put it on your hand." I said, "Look, it will work for you."
But is that not the reason people think
Fetish.
it is fetish?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're talking about patency now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
because that patent seems to be like spiritual.
Yeah.
Except the person hands it over to you willingly from their heart.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's backing that.
Yeah, yeah, that is what it is. And because this one, we are not in where the patents are issued, so we think that it is different from what we are seeing in our environment. You see, everything is the same process. And because
Doc,
it's
you are
natural-
evading something. The institution that certifies or gives out the conditions for it to be patented, we need to recognize that institution.
It would then has to be seen.
Yes.
And must be operating within a framework that which everybody seems to have a fair knowledge
Of. Not something
Yeah, but that's what I'm
mystic.
saying to you. The institution, which is certifying the patent, don't know the formula. Anywhere, whether it's in England, in Belgium, in America, they don't know the formula. They just certify that, look, you say these ingredients are here, and we have checked the ingredients are there, but they don't know the formula.
Because it's a secret.
Yes, yeah, but because we have not set such similar institution here to say, okay, this man said, I have a solution, and I want this solution commercialized, and it's commercialized, and then, of course, it's demonstrated to see, is it efficacious? And if it's efficacious, then we say, go ahead and use, based on what the owner of the formula has said. So we must understand that there are some certain elements in nature that we need to respect as a people. And this mentality of thinking that solution can only come from the West, for me, I think is just weird.
Okay, but sometimes people don't just look at, people want to look at a solution and to be able to draw some form of, even if they are not learned in that field. But there are some things that will make them to infer that, yes, this can work. Okay, you said this leaf can cure tetanus. And someone has tetanus, and you squeeze the leaf in your hand, you bring out the liquid in it, you put it on the surface. In fact, I don't want to
say certain things before it.
If you say certain things, tomorrow I want to do it myself.
You can't say those things.
If I say those things, are they going to work for me?
So that's what I'm saying. It will only work if the person
you have
with
the
the
patent.
patent.
But these are words. These are so it now comes to like you are in that individual is invoking or consulting an entity that is not obvious to the eye.
Consulting. You just talked about vaccine a while ago.
Yes. It was subjected to laboratory tests.
Leave the laboratory testing. They take an element of what is in it, Abi, and they put in your body. And they say it's an antibody, it's fighting against what is coming in. But what that element is only known to the person who produced it. That's one said. Now, in my village too.
We need to go to your village.
Yes, you need to come to my village. You need to come to my village. In my village too, we also have antidotes against snake bite.
Yes.
That can also be injected in your body.
This conversation will not end. And I like the conversation because...
And snake will not bite you. But you don't call it vaccine.
What do you call it?
Yes.
So whoever wants to call it vaccine.
Is it for you who doesn't want to call it
vaccine? There's a way you can be vaccinated against snake bite.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Quite an interesting discourse here. But the fact remains that there's a lot that Africa and Nigeria can do with natural medicine. Not to say that using orthodox medicine is not good. In fact, orthodox medicine has been very beneficial globally. It has saved lives. It has helped people financially because those in the pharmaceutical industry, they also make money when they produce medications that will treat illnesses that will save lives. But what we're saying is that is it possible to have multiple solutions for one problem or multiple health solutions if we are blessed with having herbal plants, medicinal plants all around us? Why don't we explore that even as the federal government or the president of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu, has given a directive for tax waivers, 2 years tax waivers for pharmaceutical inputs to help indigenous pharmaceutical industries, so that Nigerians can also have a sigh of relief or have some relief regarding the price of medication. Well, that's one step. We can take it further by also encouraging natural medicine, so that there are more than one solutions that can be used to complement what the orthodox medicine or pharmaceutical industry is doing.